Hello, hello, hello. Welcome. Mad Dog Mondays, Miniature Mondays, here on Talon Games Twitch channel. I'm James Salyers. I'm the fella here you're here to hang out with, I hope. Hello, name I can't pronounce, Meredith. I'm sorry. Impossible for me to pronounce already, starting out, hitting home runs of names. Anyway, so we're here on Mondays to just hang out. Really, I mean, this is the equivalent of payday at your local shop, right? You know, if it wasn't for COVID, we would all probably have a game day a couple of times a month, maybe every week. You get together, you might play a game, you might hang out, show off your minis, show the ladies and gentlemen that you hang out with what you've been working on. So that's what we're doing here. We might do a little assembly. We might do a little unboxing. We might do a little bit of painting. Kind of just here to hang out and have a good time for an hour. Hopefully, get some people to chit chat and talk about Cav stuff. All right. Wait a couple of minutes. We did get a package in. If you can make that out, probably should not show you that bit right there. I'm bad at this, aren't I? Wow. Doop-a-doop-a-doo. Not that really matters. You could figure out who I am if you wanted to. It wouldn't be that hard. But we'll do it the right way. The smart way. Or we think we will. Here we go. Just a moment. Just a momento. Well, that's good. I'm glad you can hear me, Leapling. Glad everything is working out. Leapling is a very helpful person. She is. All right. So I guess we'll just do this way. Give me a second here. Off screen, off camera. Get this part of this package open. There we go. Finally. All right. So now we got a package. All right. So we talked last Wednesday on John's the regular Wednesday night stream. We talked a little bit about the upcoming, or actually, I guess at this point in time, the Black Friday sale that might still be going on. Where you could get some discounts on products from Talon Games. And so I took advantage of it. I ordered myself some stuffs. And you're getting to see me open it up for the first time. I mean, I hope I know what's in here. I hope it's the things I ordered, but I guess we'll see. Hey, Gimli. Nice to see you. Thanks for dropping by. First and foremost, we have Smarties. These are literally John's favorite candies, I believe. He gives them out in his orders. They taste good. They're tart. If you, I'm just guessing this is an American brand. So if you happen to, by some chance, be from some distant country, you might not know what these are. They're little chalky, tart, sweet candies. John loves them. If you ever meet John, give him some Smarties. He'll like it. So the first thing to come out of the box. Oh yeah, Gimli. Yeah. It probably happened to me too. If anybody could get in the door, but I think I locked it. Smart. I got a gnomic. So last week I was thinking to myself, here's the sale. What should I order? And so I got to looking around and I realized I don't really have much in the way of rock minis. I don't know. When I first got into this game, I fell in love with Templars, and then I've just kind of wandered my way around into Almirathil and mercenaries and all kinds of things. So I sat down and I tried my best to make up a list, a rock list. I mean, I have this rock scenario that I'm going to hopefully get to play test one of these years. And so I made up a list finally. I posted about it over on Discord, but not all of you may hang out on Discord, so I'll talk about it a little briefly here. A little bit. Ooh, shiny. I got a shiny. This is a Despot B, I believe. A freaking awesome little tank. Very, very awesome. It's my freebie for ordering stuff during the sale. So that's my haul video right there. My stuff that I got. Meredith has a list that says all of them. I'm not sure my pockets are deep enough to buy all of them, but I try, piece at a time. All right, so I decided to make up this list, and I won't dwell on that too much. But now the way I build lists is, instead of just trying to figure out absolutely the best thing to play, I like to come up with an idea. First of all, I like to come up with models that I like the looks of. Okay, and so I looked through the rock list, and I decided I really love the Reaper, and I like the Malefactor. Of course, those guys are also fairly potent. I needed the Warden so I could have some ECM, because I can't play the Con. The Con is a little recon cav that the Rock have that has a couple of really very useful ECM warfare type suites. He's got ECM and I can't remember, maybe APA. And he's just super good. And any seriously competitive Rock list puts him in. But I just don't like the way he looks. He's not my cup of tea. So I decided I couldn't have him, and so I had to turn to the Warden, which is a nice little tank. Don't have one up here assembled, but yeah, it's a nice little tank, a six-wheeled thing with a cannon on the back of it. Got a bunch of those to go with my my heavy hitters, my defensive force. And so kind of the idea I had was I was going to do sort of like a naval unit, really, actually, just in terms of the way I was designing things, right? So I decided I would take so the Reapers are heavy guided missile boats. They shoot lots of nasty heavy guided missiles. The Nomic also shoots some fairly nasty guided missiles. It's not as effective or powerful as the Reaper. For instance, it's missing tag, which is going to be a problem when it wants to move and shoot its guided missiles, whereas the Reapers come with tag. Anyway, that's tactics. We'll talk about that maybe in a little bit. By the way, artist Chris Lewis, wonderful guy. Check him out on Saturdays when he does his stream. You can watch him make models live. So the idea is, like a World War II naval force, right? So I've got this group of, let's call them cruisers. 3 heavy cruisers, the Reaper, a light cruiser, the Nomic, and then I've got these Malefactors. I should have probably assembled these ahead of time. This would make a lot more sense. The Malefactors are like my destroyer screen, okay? And then I've got the Wardens to do frigate work, electronic warfare, stuff like that. And so the idea is I'm gonna field this unit that likes to stand back and shoot, has a bunch of minimum ranges, and so people might want to rush them. Well, the idea is I'm going to put my Malefactors in the way. The Malefactors have heavy PPGs, which are brutal. If I could do a rock impression, I would do a rock impression. Can you smell the brutal Malefactors? Anyway, the Malefactors have these heavy PPGs that are just vicious, and they want to close with people. And so the idea is you put the Malefactors between. I should stop hitting the table. The Malefactors between the enemy and your cruisers, your Reapers and your Nomics, and then as the enemy. This wouldn't be an enemy. This guy would be over here with these guys. The enemy, these evil Malvernans, who want to come up and destroy the rock, are going to have to move closer to try and get to the guided missile boats. And they're going to be moving into range. They're going to be closing the range of the Malefactors. And the Malefactors are going to make them pay for it because they have the heavy PPGs. And then, like I said, out on the perimeter scoring objectives, running ECM, blocking people's attempts to get target locks, things like that is going to be a bevy of these Wardens. So the idea is I've basically got a unit of 3 Malefactors and 1 Warden twice, and then a recon unit of 4 Wardens, and then a cav fire support unit of 3 Reapers and a Nomic. And that comes out to right around 5,000 points. 5,000 points is typically the size of like a CavCon tournament. The traditional CavCon tournament is usually 5,000 points. I think there may have been some changes, but I'll let John speak to that because I haven't read those rules in quite a while. Mostly because nobody's playing tournaments right now. All right, so there's my unboxing video with my free Dualcast. All right, let's throw these back in the box. Get these out of the way here. Watch James clean his desk. Like I said, this is definitely not a painting show. We'll paint on this show. We'll hobby on this show. We'll play little dude mins on this show. We go bam, 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 fight. But this is not a painting show. One of my very favorite painters, James Wapple, believe he's from Chicago. Super ridiculously awesomely good painter. His Twitch stream comes on about half an hour or so before this one, and I get the notification on my phone every time it comes on, and I think to myself, Mr. Waffle is doing art, and I'm gonna go on, and I just want to make sure everybody understands this is not a painting show. This is Hang Out with James. Meredith got a box today with pillagers, grizzlies, and tigers, and a cobra. Holy crack-a-moly! So that's a lot of Ritter stuff you use, because so some of the Ritter stuff can be used by Almirithil, and so when you say tigers, you could also mean, what is it, fullbacks, which is the name for the tigers that the Almirithil get when they do the Lend-Lease. I'm not quite sure how you're going to use those, and I'm not sure if grizzlies are in the Lend-Lease program. It's too much stuff for me to keep memorized, but that's cool. It sounds like a Ritter force probably. Oh, Meredith, you're going to use them as fullbacks. That's awesome. What about the pillagers and the grizzlies? Are they part of the Lend-Lease as well? And you got a cobra. Cobras are awesome. They're one of my favorite models. Dave C over on Discord, just right before we came on, he got a cobra as one of his free things for ordering, and he posted up a super close-up image of this hex, this mesh pattern that's in here. So this one's pretty good. This is the 3D printed one that John made for me. But the one that came out of the new printing process is even crisper. Grizzly and Cobra are Almirithil. Awesome. Awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing what you do with those, dude. All right. 10 minutes in. All right. So some other stuff that I've been working on. I ran out of green stuff. So I went down to my local hobby store, and I was lucky to find like this bigger volume of green stuff. It's still $20, but this is way better than what I would have paid if I had been buying the GW stuff. And in fact, what I ran out of was these 2 blocks that I had brought the previous time. So I was super fortunate with that because, the hobby store that's closest to me was completely out of green stuff. And so I drove down to one in Midtown, and I was fortunate enough to find green stuff. And I need green stuff because I need to do some more bases. This is the base that I made for my anti-cav gun. It's kind of hard to see. I probably should have done a little painting on it. But anyway, I needed some more green stuff so I could do the other 4, because John sent me some stuff to make the other 4 anti-cav guns. By the way, in case you don't remember, here's the anti-cav gun that I've been kit bashing out of armadillo parts. And actually, I think this is part of a grizzly. Yeah, Gimli. Needite off the getting it straight from Green Stuff World. So I was hoping that this would come up because I know there must be a better source than even this, for which I got from Gale Force 9. I think Gale Force 9 sells this volume. I knew one of you would have. Thank you very much, Sminny. Gimli, I knew somebody in the chat or in Cavland in general would have a better source of green stuff than what I have, but this is what I needed to get so I can get started on these bases. I did try, set this out of the way. Welcome back, Sminny. Good to see you. I did try doing the same thing out of DOS, which I'm not super familiar with. Let me grab that for you. So DOS is this modeling compound that I bought at the local Michael's, a Hobby Lobby, Michael's. Basically, any basic art store should have access to this. And this is a pretty good value. You get a ton of this stuff for the price, but I'm just not sure if I'm as happy with it. 36-inch roll of Neatite off Amazon is $13.50. Wow. Okay, neat. I'm definitely going to come back and check this out after I get off and order some of that for myself. 36 inches. I knew one of you would solve my problem. It's just a matter of it happening. But I had to have this so I could get started because I want to finish up this group of SPGs. Anyway, I made this out of DOS. And again, I apologize for not painting this or doing something so you can. It's just, there you go, a little bit of detail. So you can see the kind of detail I was able to get in with the molds I have for pressing into the green stuff. It works pretty good here. I'd have to obviously glue this on. And I may go with this because DOS it's interesting. I see people do neat stuff with it. But right now, I'm not super pleased with it. It's very brittle. It's, if I just, I can just break a little piece of it off there, whereas the green stuff base, even now that it's been dried for a while, it's just tougher. Green stuff is just tougher. Yeah, thanks, Gimli. I appreciate that. B. Starkey, 1701. Welcome to the channel. I don't recognize you, so if you don't know what's going on, this is Hangout with James. We're broadcasting on Talon Games Twitch channel. We're here to talk about Cav, to play with some Cav models. One of the things we're going to do today is we're kit bashing some self-propelled guns, some anti-tank guns, the Cav equivalent of maybe the old World War II 88s. So just to kind of fill a niche that I noticed Cav doesn't particularly have right now. So we're going to make up some 4 more of these guys, and we were just talking about the bases that this guy's going to go into. Let me pop him off here, because the other thing I got this week was some infantry. Let's move these infantry out here. Okay. I don't know how well you can see these guys. Here, I'll hold them up here. These are some metal infantry that Talon Games make. These look to me like they're probably powered armor guys or heavy guys. I don't think they're light fellows. Anyway, so the idea, the reason why I wanted these is because I want the self-propelled gun. I mean, it kind of looks like a tank, but I want to distinguish it from a tank. And so I'm going to mount 1 or 2 guys here to be like its minders. We got this guy who looks like he's holding a pistol. I can probably quickly change that into some sort of a tablet or something. And so I'll cut out a little spot here next to him, next to the self-propelled gun on the base, and put him here like he's directing it, telling it where to fire, driving it, directing it across the field. There are no rules for this thing. You don't need armor if 1 can of shell would kill you anyway. Yeah, thanks, Starkey. I appreciate it. I use these. I'm trying to think where are you? Looking for. So I use these silicone molds that I bought at ReaperCon back in 2017, I think, that are made by Happy Seppuku. Now, unfortunately, I think Happy Seppuku went out of business, I think, so I'm not sure if these are still available. But if not, somebody else will make something. I know there's a roller, a green stuff roller that you can get, and so the idea is you mix up some green stuff, just make a blob of it. Well, you know what? Let's not talk about it. Let's do it. That's why we bought this. Here, let's tear this end off. And let's just mix up some green stuff and make a base. But yeah, the idea is you impress those in there, and then you can throw some dirt or sand or grass, static grass, or just debris, bits of models that you don't, maybe an old model that you have laying around. But yeah, that's what we're going to do. We're going to get in here and get out some blue stuff. And here's something. Speaking of Mr. Wapple, I was mentioning James Wapple earlier. I was watching his stream earlier well, actually, I guess over the weekend. And I saw him mix the green stuff up in different proportions than 50-50 while he was doing some sculpting, and he got different results. And I just never occurred to me that would be a thing. Now I'm going to grab just a tiny little bit of Vaseline here to put on my fingers so it doesn't stick quite as much. Just a tiny little bit. And I'm going to knead that together. Yeah, Gimli, just randomly sending out, just like prank phone calls, prank advertise. It's kind of like spam. Ah, there it is. Yep, I see it. I got the link. Thank you very much. It popped up for me, Gimli. Awesome. Yeah, that's what I need. Because I mean, it takes me a while to go through this, but not too long. I think I went through these tubes this year, so I had to replace them this year. So it'll be nice to have a gigantic pile of it. All right. Not sure I've made enough here, but if not, we'll just make some more. All right, so I just take this and I kind of stick it on here. I kind of spread it out. And, if you don't get a 100% coverage, that's not that big a deal because, this green stuff can represent, like a rolling part of the ground, where there's a raise, like a rise in the turf. Doesn't have to cover 100%. In fact, I'm not going to do it 100% because then the idea is when I come in to finish the base, I'll flock the rest of this. Maybe put some tall static grass or, some kind of, rocks or just something over there. So this particular piece of this hex is going to have this, I don't know, just sort of like a rolling undulation in the middle of the field. I played some disc golf over the weekend. It kind of reminds me of that. There's this nasty hole I had to throw over. I couldn't even see the thing, and it ate up my disc. Gimli's making a beholder. Wow. Yeah. I mean, I paid $20 for this locally. Again, I was very happy to find it because, it was the only store that I could find that even had any. And literally, I was walking around holding it in my hand, and somebody walked up and asked the owner if they had green stuff. And I had picked up the last one. So I don't know what it is. I mean, just everything is short during COVID, I guess. All right, so spread this out a little bit. And then, so this is really probably more of, I don't know how well you can see that. See the texture. This is really more of a 28 millimeter base. So it's like this is probably some kind of a tank track right here. And that's really big from a cav perspective. I mean, if we were to put a tank down there, that track is gigantic. But it can be just flavor, right? So it doesn't have to literally be the thing. Plus, you don't have to use these, right? So you could. I mean, there's texture right here. In fact, I think that's probably where. I don't know if you can see it. These little actual tank traps came from me pressing the armadillo treads down into it while it was still damp. You could also, I mean, just something simple like here's a water bottle, right? And so I could easily take this water bottle and just kind of roll it around there, and see I get this nice oddball piece of texture that pops up there. I mean, anything. Beef Starkey. Hardware stores have nice alternatives for green stuff. Is that what you're saying, Mr. Starkey? It looks like it turned out for a train layout. Yeah, I mean, a little bit, right? And so you could do that with that. I mean, here's an old pill bottle that I have that I like to use to hold stuff on, right? And so it's got some track things on it. You could do the same sort of thing with it. You get a little bit of a different look. I mean, literally around your 10 trillion things you could use to press detail on here. Here's a Reaper cargo container that I bought a long time ago. I could just literally press this thing in there, right? And now I've got this strange, I don't know what that would be in cav scale. I mean, obviously you need to think about what you're doing a little bit in the, so you can get something that's going to look decent in cav. But, I mean, the world is full of textures. Hardware stores have a nice, all right. So Mr. Starkey, if I understand you correctly, you're telling me to go to the hardware store and look for things where you're doing water repair. Okay, so like the plumbing section. Cool. I will check that out. And then again, if you don't like that texture, you just press it back out with your thumb while it before it dries. And now you can come in here and press this. I don't know. Let's pick this gear up right here. Kind of press this down into the mold. Peel it back up. I should have used maybe a touch more stuff. And now we've got a little piece of, I don't know, almost looks like a skull there where it's not quite deep enough. Like I said, this is really meant for a 28 millimeter model. And so some of these bits are really deep. Let's just put a little bit of green stuff or Vaseline on top of there to help it release for when I press it in there. Did you hold it out, Dad? And then moonwalk out of the store. Well, I mean, I was happy to have it. I don't really like doing that sort of thing, but I could see where that would be hilarious. Yeah. So I got a little bit of that gear, that wheel there. Maybe we'll go for something different. Maybe something that'll show up a little bit better on our piece of green stuff here. There we go. So now we have some, some strange cuts. Like I could take my finger and flatten those out so they don't look like they're quite as recent. Work them into the thing, and then, like I said, go back to here, do a little bit of additional stuff. Just anything can literally be texture. I mean, here's a hobby knife, right? It's got this nice etched pattern on it. You could just roll this across here, and now we have a completely different kind of feel. 2-part epoxy is great for this kind of work. Probably not for sculpting great detail. 2-part epoxy, yeah. So like, when I think of 2-part epoxy, I always think of stuff like JB Weld, which is an adhesive, but I'm not very experienced in that stuff, so maybe there's something better or more meaningful. Maybe. Let's see, what have I got over here? Here's some more tank treads from a dust spot. I can come in here and just now I definitely have scale size tank treads, right? Smoosh this down so it's looks more like just a piece of hill, right? So now I've got, like I said, much more of like something you would see in scale for the game. So John's giving you a piece of a sculpting tool when he sold you this Dustspot B when he finally gets around to that here soon. Some of you have probably gotten them for free with your Black Friday order. All right, so like I said, we'll make up some bases like that. And then at some point in time, we'll get the other bits of our self-propelled guns out and get them assembled. And like I said, we'll build this thing up so there's kind of a like a human look to it. So it's obvious that this is not just some sort of strange tank that we've kit bashed. So in the context of CAV, as I said before, there technically aren't anti-CAV guns or anti-tank guns, or SPGs is maybe the better word that I think, was it Smitty said earlier? Yeah. SPGs. It's probably a better name for them. And so I don't really know how to write these up, but I think John is taking notice and realize that maybe there might be a need for this sort of thing here. All right, let's jam that guy in there so he's got a spot when this stuff dries. All right. So let's just, while we got the green stuff out, let's just go ahead and set up the bases for the other guys as well. So, again, I'm terrible with the nicknames, and so just in case some of you are new here, this is the Talon Games Twitch channel. There are currently 4 streams a week. Monday nights with me here, just hanging out, doing hobby stuff, working on models, shooting the crap, talking about whatever you guys want to talk about. Tuesday night is terrain night. John works on terrain. He's building some new boards for the eventual hope that he's going to get to go to a convention and display his game and demo it for people. So he's looking for, he's trying to create a new board with kind of an Egyptian feel, which I think is going to jive really well with the upcoming the campaign stuff he's working on. I think there's an Egyptian feel to that campaign as well. And then on Wednesdays, John and I get together and answer people's questions, talk about just the state of CAV in general, what's going on, what to expect. John is very open about answering questions. Terrain is my greatest enemy. Well, it's funny you mentioned this, Minnie, because in the last Kickstarter, John put a lot of terrain in. There's a lot of pre-made plastic terrain. Smaller the model, the less space I have to be lazy, and terrain is usually very large. I like it. Take a look at the Talon Games website. There's a bunch of pre-made like water tanks and like power generators and like tank barricades, just all kinds of things. Plus, he sells some MDF terrain. There's just all kinds of things you can do. You can get off John's website to satisfy your needs for CAV terrain. it's a whole subject. John is an expert at making terrain. He has some really excellent boards that he uses when he runs his tournaments, and he's, like I said, tune in Tuesday nights and you'll see him building just all kinds of super cool stuff. And then Wednesday night is mostly just chatting about the game in general, answering questions, demoing, explaining rules, just whatever really fits the need. Whatever is out there, whatever John, like people have been asking him, maybe like posting on Facebook or something like that, or if you guys will bring something up in the conversation, in the chat, John will answer your questions to the best of his abilities. Gimli bought a bunch of extra terrain. Yeah, that stuff is, God, it's such a good value. I mean, especially, Cav has just a little bit of like an old school feel in that it's a big game. It's a game that plays on a fairly large space. It needs lots of terrain. It doesn't have a gigantic number of models, which is one of my favorite things about it. I mean, it's not, like a rank and file game. Like the Warhammer games are. With 40K, you got to have, dozens of models at the very least. And the fantasy games that are out there typically have dozens of models too. And so, while I love those kind of games as well, it's just nice to know that like 12 models and I can field an entire force, and then I can spend the rest of my time getting my my terrain set up. All right, so here we go with that. We look around us and we say, what do we want to make? All right, so here I want to try and make some cratery looking things. So I got this end of my super glue tube here, right? I'm just going to poke this in here and try and make it look like maybe some shells have landed here or something. All right, it's kind of uniform looking, honestly. So I'll grab something off the shelf here, and we'll just we kind of make a radiating kind of a star pattern here. Just because it seems to me like if things were going to explode, they would, they generate those kind of scars in the ground. I watched the movie, was it 1917, back before the theaters all shut down, and I thought that was a great, visually it was a spectacular movie. It seemed to me like it represented World War I it was very accurate, at least in terms of the scenery and the terrain and stuff like that. Yes, Starkey, come back, join us after you get your phone on the charger. Tamiya Petty is the best for impacts. Really? Okay. I'm not familiar with that. Is it like a clay? Is it something that comes out of a tube? I'm just trying to think. Don't I have something like that? I have this perfect plastic putty that I use to gap fill models with that need them. Some of my, the bigger 28, 30, 32, 40 millimeter guys sometimes need some gap filling. Is it something like that, do you think? I feel like I need just a little bit more texture here. What do I want to do for a bit more texture? Let's just do something. Do a few lines. Like I said, it doesn't have to make sense because it's not going to be. You're not going to see all of this in the final product. I'm going to cover a bunch of that up with, like sand and grass and stuff like that. Just some kind of something to put some feel into the base. Yeah, I use it to do shell impacts on my tanks. Smitty, I'd love to see that. Obviously I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but if you joined our Discord, you could come over there and post up some pictures and show us your techniques. That would be awesome. Twitch is not really the right place for that, I don't think. But if you wanted to join the Talon Games Discord channel, I would love to see your techniques for doing these shell impacts. Love to see some of your stuff. Or maybe you already have and you just have a different name and I don't recognize it because I'm terrible with names. Yo, Mr. Wraith! Okay, Atlas, I thought so. There was a new guy over there and you both seemed like you had the same kind of swagger, maybe is the right way to put it. And so, yeah, cool. All right, yeah, definitely Atlas. Smitty, post up over there and let us see what you're talking about. I would love to see some of that technique. Mr. Tiger Wraith. Long time calf guy. Much longer than me. I'm a relative newbie, I guess. A few years. 3 or 4 years at calf. I'm sure Mr. Wraith has been around much longer than that. So, Tiger, we're just making up some bases so we can keep working on our self-propelled gun project. I did a little painting on them earlier today, and I'm just randomly grabbing things off my desk to put textures in this green stuff. And then Gimli totally educated me about how to save money. That's interesting. It grabbed hold right there because it's real sticky. I forgot to put Vaseline on it. I don't think that's distinct enough. I need something with bigger textures. I'll go back to this bottle. First edition. Way back in the Reaper days. Alright. Put a little Vaseline on there so it won't stick to my stuff quite as badly. Like I said, just put down some of these strange little patterns. Oh, I like it's kind of like some kind of oddball. Like alien growth. I kind of like that. Black Knight. Is that like the I can't think of in Privateer Press terms, the press ganger, where you would like demo the game and help people out, run tournaments and things like that. Tiger. The other thing I want to do is I want to kind of bring some of the other elements. I wish I'd thought about that back here when I was doing this one, but I'm going to bring some of these circular elements over into these other bases. Oh, I like that where they overlap. That's kind of nice. Here, let's go here. All right. So quick as you please, we've got maybe some more detail right here. Let's get out a smaller one of these. So these Happy Seppuku bases, like I said, back when they were around, they made all kinds of these things, all kinds of textures. But again, I don't think they're still in business. And here we go. Here's just a random thing from Michael's that looked like it had interesting texture. I'm just going to put a little bit of that right there. Kind of some organic looking squiggles. And again, because I want the bases to kind of tie together, I just kind of randomly stick them on one of the other bases as well. Okay, yeah. So tournament organizers, demo team, staff, that kind of thing. Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. That got real complicated though with the Wizards people. I don't know all the details, but I know that became a thing that a lot of companies moved away from eventually. All right. Oh, wait a minute. Before we go down that path, let's talk some more about Dualcast. So, Dualcast, real quickly, is a new miniature making process that Talon Games is starting up here at the end of the year. Should be in play during 2021. And essentially what it's going to allow them to do, Talon Games is going to be able to move all of their miniature casting operations in-house. So no more making stuff over in China with the whole Kickstarter program, at least for the most part, at least not for cav scale models is the way I understand it. And so it's going to be, it's a thermoplastic resin. It's got a lot of complicated properties. It's a really good product. So like here is so this is the exact same model, all right, that I got last week. And so one of the problems we've had in the past was a little, the soft plastic that the original Kickstarter versions of calves were made out of, they might be a little, they would have a tendency to bend, like before they put them in the package, they would pile these things up in giant piles in a box, and there would be 30 of these, and they'd stand on their barrels, and they'd get a little bend, and it would stay in. And then you have to use the hot water trick. Yeah, Despot B, you're right. to get these guys straightened out. But the new process just makes straight models. I mean, so here's like a sculpting tool, right? I think I showed this last week. Straight piece of metal, lay it down there. I don't know if you can see, but it's just straight as straight can be. I mean, there's no deviation really. Same thing from the side, straight as straight can be. Looks good. Wonderful new product. So one of the questions that came up last week when I was showing off the new models that I'd just gotten in the new material was, how do they deal with traditional primers? So now, me personally, I almost always airbrush primer, 99.999% of the time. Now, I used to, obviously, before I had an airbrush, I would use rattle cans, but I gotten away from them. So I said I would test it, and so I did. It took me a while to find a rattle can of primer out in the garage that was still good, but I found some Krylon, and I sprayed it on this Tuseki 2, and it's just regular old, Harbor Freight or Lowe's, Home Depot, whatever hardware store you have around you, Krylon right off the shelf, the sort of thing you would paint your back porch table with or something. And it went on there pretty good. I mean, it's clearly not interacting with the resin. I sprayed this guy about an hour and a half ago, so he should be pretty dry. And this is an old cruddy can that was 3/4 of the way gone. I had to shake for about 20 minutes to get it to even work because I literally haven't touched it in 3 years. And it seems to me like it did pretty good. I mean, it's a perfectly serviceable primer job. And like I said, the important thing is there's no interaction here, right? There's nothing. I mean, the primer's stuck. It's not flaking off. It's not rubbing off in particular. Here, I'll just rub it with my finger. I mean, I can rub it off with my finger because, I'm literally scraping it off, but it's not peeling up. It's not, it's not like, it's got good adhesion, I guess is really the word that I should use there. Anyway, so the new dual cast material seems to interact perfectly fine with regular primer. So if you're a rattle can guy or lady, I hope there are ladies out there. I know we have female cav players. Again, some of you may be new. We have 2 or 3 different ladies that play. In fact, at the last CavCon tournament, we had a woman play in the tournament. First time ever. Pinky Princess is her handle online. She's a wonderful lady. I miss her. I hopefully we'll get a chance after this COVID stuff to hang out some more. She had a great time. She's fantastic. All right. So, dual cast works with Krylon. Get excited for dual cast models. These things are going to be awesome. Made some terrain in preparation for putting our self-propelled guns together. I don't know if that's the right place. The other thing I like about making these kind of hills, kind of in the middle of the base, is then I can put the tanks up there, or excuse me, they're not tanks, they're self-propelled guns. Kind of an angle, right? I mean, not everything has to be flat and just sitting on a base. You can have a little angle to them. They can be leaning off to the side. That seems kind of realistic to me. All right, got those. Here we go. All right, so I did a little bit of painting. Let's see if I can get this guy to show up here. This is, I hope to buy a new camera soon so we can get a little better focus. This is just a cheap Logitech webcam that I happen to have when John asked me if I would mind trying to stream. And so I did a little bit of cleanup on this self-propelled gun. It's still got a long way to go. I went in and I outlined the triangles, the camo triangles in black, and cleaned up the orange and the green and the white to just kind of make them look a little bit more uniform. Yeah, seriously, isn't it though? I am going to bring it down a little bit. I mean, this orange is a little bit bright. What I will do is, I haven't decided if I'm going to come in with the airbrush and apply a filter, which is just a really thin glaze of paint that you spray over the model to bring it down. And so if I do that, what'll happen is I'll apply it lightly along the top, and then from the bottom where the deeper shadows are, I'll let it build up, a couple of layers so that it strengthens the shadows a little bit. It's a very similar sort of thing to what you would do with a wash or a contrast paint or something like that, something that you can thin down and just kind of smother the model in and let it go in and get into the crevices and the details. And, the other thing that kind of paint will do is that paint will shift the brightness of this orange down into kind of more of a brownish orange, an orangey brown. They won't be this bright when I'm done with them. I will come back with this color, though, after I've knocked them down, and I will come in and do the edge highlighting with this original orange so that it stays kind of true to the basic paint scheme. But yeah, so that's what I'm working on today, is getting myself some more of these guys going. All right, speaking of working on them, which direction do I want to go? Do we want to do a little painting, or do we want to do some assembly? Let's think about that for a minute. I feel like I'm going to work on the painting a little bit. All right, so drag out my wet palette. Not that I really need it. I'm just doing basing, like base coats and whatnot here, but I use my little wet palette anyway. See if I can make some room here. So I was talking about the shows earlier, and I got sidetracked, as I often do. I mentioned the last thing I think I mentioned was the Wednesday show that John and I do, where we just John will sit down and tell you, answer your questions about CAV, how the rules work, what the plans are, things like that. He and I will just kind of, buddy talk. But there is something new coming that I wanted to try and share with you. Thank you very much, Smitty. I will check it out right after the show. So what's going to happen in the near future is, maybe we need a little bit of history first. So, was it last year? I can't remember when we started. I think it was in 2018. Ross Hines, who's a Savage Coyote on the forum and in VTech circles and things like that. I'm sure you'd recognize him if you saw some of his work. He's a fantastic painter. He's like beyond fantastic. He teaches art, so he's a very serious painter. But he and I started a podcast back before there's any of this Twitch channel stuff called the Big Stompy Podcast. And actually, that's not the color I even want. And so we did a podcast because back then there was really nowhere to go and listen, to people talk about CAV. There wasn't anybody there was no place where people were talking about tactics or units or paint schemes or, how to get ready for the CAVCon term or even what was going on in the context of CAV. So he and I, for about a year, we did a little podcast podcast called the Big Stompy Podcast. And mostly what it was me, driving the boat and Ross standing in the back with his bullhorn telling people all the juicy things that are inside his head. Because Ross, as it turns out, is not only a fantastic artist, he's also a really good player. He will kick your butt if you give him half a chance. And even if you don't give him half a chance, he might do it anyway. Anyway, so Ross is a really good player. And we would talk about just all kinds of stuff. Just, what we were getting, what we were doing for the tournament that was coming up. Because back then we were prepping for the CAVCon tournament. We would talk about, things like that. We reviewed the factions. We would, just make stuff up. Sometimes we would talk about casual stuff. Anyway, long story short, there was a podcast back before there was any of this Twitch stuff. And John convinced Ross, I think, to finally come back and give it another shot. So what's going to happen, I think, I'm not sure the date yet, but sometime in December, John and Ross and I, and perhaps even Master Guns, who is the other ridiculously, stupidly good, fantastic painter in the CAV universe that I know of. I'm sure there are others. Joshua Davis is another guy who's painted CAV in the past, who's fantastic. A mini painting studio. He's a fantastic painter. Anyway, Ross and Master Guns, Todd, and myself and John are going to get together and kind of do some old Big Stompy podcast stuff, which is, in this case, I think what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the Almirathil faction. We're going to talk about it in kind of a crunchy way. We're going to review the units, talk about how you might go about using them, what they're good at, what you need to do to make them work, which ones are, well, I mean, they're all worth getting, but I mean, which ones are, good for fire support, which are good attack units, how you want to organize them, what you can do with, like the new, the upcoming Kodiak. We're going to try and do some crunchy talk because, when I was thinking about a lot of the things that we do here, on the Talon Games Twitch channels so far are really kind of soft stuff. We talk about the game in general. We might demo some rules, but there's not really any game talk. And we got new people that probably have never actually even played the game. And so, I mean, obviously you can read the rules and kind of puzzle it out for yourself, but you might want to listen to Todd and Ross. They're both former CavCon winners. They've won the big tournament more than once between them. Each of them, I think, may have won it more than once. I don't know their exact records, but between them, they are pretty much the dominant players that I know of in terms of tournament cav play. So if you're into that kind of thing, these are the kind of people you want to listen to. And of course, John knows the rules pretty well, considering it's how he made them. And so it should be a lot of fun. I anticipate it's going to be in December, 100%. Not sure the day yet. We were talking about that earlier, and we couldn't quite come to a consensus about how we were going to do it, but we will. So you got that to look forward to. Now that won't be, you only need rules if you survive the you only need rules if you survive the first turn. Yeah, I mean, let's put it like this. If you don't survive the first turn, you just get to go have a beer earlier, or go eat lunch earlier, or whatever it is your cup of, your pastime of choice is. Nothing wrong with that. Me, I'm 99% of the time I'm a super casual gamer. I mean, I'll play to win the tournament, but yeah, most of the time I'm just there to have fun. Tiger Wraith. So there was a little tournament that we played at the last CavCon that was run by Master Guns. Is a thing that he made up called the War Master Tournament, which is interesting because the War Master Tournament is actually a thing in cav fiction. It's an event that happens where teams of mercs or faction teams will get together and they compete with in basically battle. It's sort of like fighting without real bullets, right? So they get together and it's like the Olympics of cav, and they'll build a unit based on the rules and get together and you play a regular cav game following the regular cav rules and you have a good time. And so there was a tournament. The first one of those that got ran was the first time anybody opened up a cav tournament to using aircraft. And so I used all aircraft. I made up a list. It was legal according to the tournament rules. That was only aircraft. And I won the tournament because nobody was ready for that. Nobody had thought that through, and I didn't warn them. I just showed up and said, hey, look, here's a bunch of airplanes. What are you going to do? It was 1,000% cheating. It was absolutely cheating, but it was legal cheating, so it's okay. It counts, right? Anyway, it's the only tournament I'll ever win in my entire life, so I'm not sure I'm proud of it, but I am pleased by it, and I have the trophy downstairs, and like I said, it's displayed in my cabinet with my painted miniatures because it's awesome. Plus, the trophy I got was painted by the guy Chris from over at Thunderhead Studios. He's a big mecha painting guy. If you haven't checked him out on Twitch, you need to check him out. He is a fantastic painter, and he's super good and fast and jovial, and he will help you out and tell you what to do. And oh my God, he's a good 3D sculptor as well. It's just crazy. I mean, there's so many talented people in this thing. Makes you wonder why I'm here. Yeah, that's the cheetah. I think the cheetah. And the funny thing is, so that's back when Ross and I were doing the podcast, and so I had shared my list with Ross. I told Ross what I was going to play, and so he and I would talk about it like in our side conversations, and then we would, during the show, we would point out, we would talk about this upcoming tournament, and we emphasized several times, this is the first time you're going to see aircraft. You need to be prepared to handle aircraft, and it's. I mean, some people brought the cheetah. I actually faced one during the course of the tournament. Jeff Jones, I believe, fielded it. But it was just, people were just, they didn't know what to do with all those airplanes. And so it was one of those things where you kind of went in the list building phase, which is too bad. I probably shouldn't have done it, but it just occurred to me, here's this fun list, and I had an opportunity to paint up some very unique models, and my apologies. And so, now we have that. What is that vehicle John made? Or maybe it was already in existence. I really want to do a full air army just to fight my natural instincts of long-distance standoff fighting. So, Smitty, you mean you want to do like an aerial assault force? You mean you want to do like planes dropping off infantry? Or do you mean just like airplanes everywhere? I don't know if you guys can even see this. I'm just trying to get black to go over this yellow on the treads so I can begin to make this thing look like an armored thing, not vehicle. It's not a vehicle, honestly. Truthfully, it's not a vehicle. Smitty wants to blot out the sun. Okay. But again, are you delivering infantry, or are you just flying in with a bunch of Taseki 2s and blowing things out of, away that way? How are you doing it? What's going on here? Talk to me, Schmitty. Because if you're dropping off infantry with some of those airplanes, now you're just talking dirty, and it's the good kind of dirty, because I like the sound of it. Tiger Wraith, you guys do a lot of like infantry air operations down there. At least I think I've heard you talk about them before, haven't you? Just all the attack aircraft, Smitty? Is that what we're talking about here? There ain't no air support like... oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. We love the... I can't make the noise. The sound that gun makes. Brr, brr, except about way deeper. There you go. Tiger Wraith can make the sound. He knows how to spell that word. Probably part of his spell check, I guess. No, but Tiger Wraith, weren't you guys doing a bunch of like, one of the players down there, I'm not sure who he was doing like a bunch of like aerial assault, attack turn one kind of things? Back when I first met you, I think you were sharing some stories about that with me. I think. Maybe I have you mixed up with the other Tiger Wraith. The one that's rich and has all the models. Let me get this back on the screen here. All right. We need some more color up here, so I'm going to put some black up here. This is too much orange. So I'll paint some black right in here. I don't think I've ever met Chris. Have I, Tiger Wraith? Does he chat? Is he in the Discord? Is he in Twitch? I don't think he's ever come to the tournament. Has he? Maybe I've met him and I don't even know it. Discord. Okay, yeah. See, that's the problem. I know these stories about people, and I might be talking to them, telling them the story about themselves, because I don't know who they are in Discord. It's all this anonymity. It's confusing. Well, I could work a little bit longer here, try and get some more of this black on here. Been about an hour. Unfortunately, I'm not John, so I can't say to you guys, hey, you've been such a great audience, I will tell you some secret about the game that nobody knows, that here's your reward for being here, because I'm just a fan. I don't work for the company. I just like the game. So unfortunately, I don't actually know anything. So I can't reward you for being such a fantastic audience. Gromick. Okay, cool. That's good to know. Thanks. What are you guys working on? I mean, real quick before we sign off here. It's been almost an hour. But you know what you do know. Yeah, I mean, I know some stuff, and the little bit of stuff I know, if I were to tell you, I wouldn't know anything else because John would cut me off. But seriously, what are you guys working on? Smitty, what's your project right now? Got a little bit out of line, but I can clean that up. Lore about the things you're building. Survive 2 months of 12-hour days. Oh my gosh. I don't know what you do for a living, Schmitty, but that sounds miserable. Yeah, so I one of the things I did is I went over the weekend and I posted up a Google Drive link that has all the old Big Stompy podcasts on it. And in there is a couple of long talks about a unit that I made up called the Royal Blues. Oh, you actually worked at Woolarock. Interesting. So you're basically like now I'm just picturing you as the what is that? The Old Spice guy, right? You're just out like riding, like surfing on the backs of buffaloes and things like that. Yeah, tiger wraiths. So what I did is I took an armadillo and a grizzly gun, right? So here's an example. That I need to stop painting and let that dry anyway, because I'm just slopping around wet stuff. Yeah, so it's literally just these tracks right here, right? So I cut them off, and then I took my my hobby saw or knife or whatever you want to use, but I used a hobby saw, and I trimmed these down to the point where I could get them together. And then what I did is right down the center of them, I took a smaller piece of sprue, actually a piece of sprue from a different game where it's a little narrower. Wow, Smitty, yeah, absolutely, man. Thanks for the tip. But Tiger Wraith, I took a piece of sprue and to glue the track pieces to long ways, to kind of give them some stability so that when I tried to put them together, they weren't towing in and towing out as much. And then underneath the gun, just to kind of fill up that space, I took a trapezoidal piece of sprue, like you get with any kind of hard plastic model. And I used it underneath the grizzly gun to just kind of eat up some of the space where these things go together. So when you put these guys together, just like this, there's that gap there. I don't know if you can see that, right? And so that doesn't quite look right with that gun sitting across it. And so what I did is I used a piece of sprue. Let me pop this off of here. Again, it was a smaller piece of sprue, but I basically just took a piece of sprue with that kind of cross section, and I laid it across there to kind of fill up the gap a little bit. And then I mounted the gun on top of it. Here's what I'll do next week, is I'll build one of these from scratch again, just so everybody gets a chance to see it again. I got to make 3 more anyway, so I'll make sure I save at least one of them back. But yeah, and then of course you end up. So Cav models are not expensive, right? So I should not feel bad about taking this, I don't know, $6 model, $5 model, whatever this thing was, and harvesting its treads to make a really cool thing. But I look at that and I just feel bad, because this is a good-looking tank. The Armadillo is a fine tank, and now I got to come up with a project to use these. So if anybody out there has an idea, something that we could do to recycle this. I mean, obviously I could cut them up and build them into a base, or as a wrecked tank or something. And I might do that with a couple of them, but it just feels like I should be able to turn this into something. Maybe that'll be my project, is to make a mercenary unit out of bits. So they're all bits. Yeah, that's a great idea, Tiger Wraith. I'll be honest with you. Before the Spathas actually became available, I tried to make a Spatha. I actually hired somebody that we all know and love to try and 3D to make some STL files that I could replace these treads with, so this would become a grav tank, and then make a turret. In fact, here's a print of the turret that I tried to get made. I don't know if you can see that. Probably not, because it's all white. And the idea was that it would sit on top of this armadillo thingy in some way and be a proxy Spatha. But it just, I mean, the guy that designed it for me did a great job. It just, I don't know, it just never really worked. And then John made the Spatha. And just in case, come here. I'm trying to reach my Spatha. Just in case you don't know, this is a much better looking tank than what I was trying to make. Here's this Spatha that we got back during Virtual CavCon is the model you could buy. The Spatha is a beast, both in rules and in looks. It's a freaking awesome. I don't know, Mr. Schmitty. I think you may be talking about things I don't know much about. What kind of sword is it? Spatha? I have no idea, to be honest with you. Maybe it was. All right. Need to let this dry a little bit so I can get a second coat on my treads and then go in and paint that stuff up. And then I got to decide if I got to pick out some more details so I can get some silver or something in here just so there's a little bit of variation in color. And then I got to decide if I think I may just wash this instead of coming in with the airbrush. Just come in and let the wash come in here and work around all this detail on these the side plates of this armor. I think that's probably what I'll do. Paint up some highlights here on these. Paint these up as kind of metallic. And then get him mounted on his base and get him put together. And then I just got 3 more to build. I don't know. Something I guess we can look up. Yeah, Gimli seems to think that's true. So yeah, you're probably right. I mean, 2 of you put your heads together and come up with the same thing. It's probably a true thing. All right. Tiger Wraith. Yeah. Tiger Wraith, honestly, those Mastodon conversions that I saw you post up information about, those were the things that made me kind of think about actually doing this SPG. So like I said, I was up at Talon Games, hanging out with John one weekend, just painting and just being friends. And we watched a video about World War II Russian tactics and organizations for defending against the German attack armor attacks. And they just kept talking about these self-propelled guns and these anti-tank guns. And I'm like, why is there nothing like that in Cab? And then I got to thinking about your Mastodons, and I was like, I think I could make one of these. And so that's where we are. Maybe by the end of the year, we'll actually have these things painted and based and flocked and ready to play. 100% factual. Well, yeah, Gimli. Wikipedia is the thing, man. In fact, if you go type something there, it just becomes true. So like if you were to say chocolate tastes like strawberry and you've made a Wikipedia article about it, chocolate would suddenly start tasting like strawberry. Lance is anti-tank. I'm not sure what you're trying to tell me there, Tiger Wraith. Lance is anti-tank. What does that mean? Can you help me understand that a little better? Lance. You mean the Lance tank? That's a big, if it's the one I'm thinking of, isn't that the really slow thing? Big treads. It's got one single heavy PPG. It's kind of a defensive tank. Is that what? Yeah, okay. So I don't know what you mean when you say it's anti-tank. I mean, clearly it is anti-tank. That heavy particle bolt gun will kill tanks. But whether or not in the game it has the designation anti-tank or anything like that, I'm not sure. Maybe it does. But in any case, that would be the World War II equivalent of a tank destroyer in that case, wouldn't it? Not a self-propelled gun, but rather a tank destroyer. And that's hopefully what this is coming out like. It looks a little bit like a tank, so maybe it is a self-propelled gun, or excuse me, a tank destroyer. I don't know. It's just a kit bash project. But that's going to be it for tonight. Thanks very much, all of you, for joining me. Tune in tomorrow. Hang out with John. John's going to work some more on his terrain, his Egyptian-style terrain. You might want to... Yeah, it does look a little bit like a drone. And that's kind of the look I was going for. That's why I want to put an infantry guy on there, so it looks like it's being remote controlled. The other idea I had was... God, I said I was going to get off here, but I guess I'm not. The other idea I had was to make like a little infantry squad and have it just follow the unit of 4 tanks around. So there wouldn't actually be any infantry on the guns tank. So like this guy right here, right? He would be on his own base, and then you'd have a base of guys controlling them. You guys think about that, because right now there are no rules for any of this, so we're just making stuff up. So think about that, and let's talk about it next time. You guys tell me what you think is the right look. All right, back to signing off. John, tomorrow, Tuesday, terrain, 6 o'clock. Tune in, watch him make cool stuff. Wednesday, me and John hanging out, talking crap. Mostly John telling you things that are worth knowing. I'm just there to read the chat to him occasionally. Sometime this month, and I think this is the super cool thing, because I cannot emphasize to you how good Todd and Ross are at this game. So especially for those of you that haven't had a chance to play very much, they're going to point things out. It's like, hey, if you do this thing and then do this other thing and put these 2 things together, you get a mushroom cloud sort of effect. You definitely want to tune in and listen to these guys wax tactically about the Almirathil units that we're going to discuss. Again, not sure the day, but we'll announce it as soon as we get it hammered out. You got 4 people. We're trying to sort out their schedules, and it is the Christmas holiday season, so pardon us for taking a little bit of extra time to sort this out, but we will get it sorted out and get it going. And I think that's probably going to become like a once-a-month thing. We can get Ross to come on, and probably Todd, and just let them educate all of us about how to play the game and how to play it tactically. Anyway, I appreciate you all joining us. Thank you very much. Love your support. Hang out in Discord. Get on the Facebook groups. Paint your calves. Have a good time. Peace. Live long and prosper.